Welcome to the June 12th, 2023 City Council meeting. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Anyone wishing to access the meeting can do so by watching the live stream available on our website, the broadcast on Comcast Channel 21, or by following the access instructions listed for this meeting on the city's public webcast and meeting materials webpage. Tonight's meeting will include a public forum. If you wish to speak during the public forum and haven't already done so, please fill out a request to speak form available on our public webcast and meeting materials webpage. For those of you who are here in person, printed forms are also available at the entrance to the room. We'll accept request to speak forms until 7:35. These request to speak forms will be used to generate the random order of speakers and correctly enter speakers' names into the public record. For those of you who are joining the meeting by phone and who wish to provide testimony but are unable to complete the request to speak form online, press *9 when the forum or hearing is announced, and the last 3 digits of your phone number will be added to the speaker's queue. And as a reminder, we ask you to refrain from displaying any flags, signs, using any loud or disruptive language, making noise, or any other conduct that obstructs the business of council and makes it difficult for people to be heard and to feel safe. We want the room to remain quiet and respectful for all speakers, and you are always welcome to wave your fingers in silent support. All right. And with that, I am going to open with a formal land acknowledgement. Since time immemorial, the Kalapuya people have been the indigenous stewards to our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enacting sustainable land practices. Today's land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and of honoring Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1851 and 1855, Kalapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as the Kalapuya Ilihi. Kalapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. Today, we will recognize Flag Day. And because as part of that recognition, we'll open tonight's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And to lead us in that pledge, we are joined by Layla Schropp, a freshman at Willamette High School. Layla is one of our newest members of the Youth Advisory Council. She joined this past year. The Youth Advisory Council is an advisory body that was first convened in December of 2020. The Youth Advisory Council, known as the YAC, gives Eugene High School students a chance to have their voices heard by the city of Eugene and the broader community by creating a space where student perspectives can influence, initiate policy at the city government level. And I want to just say that that I formed this Youth Advisory Council with the support of staff. Jason Dedrick is here, and that we have some graduating seniors tonight, and they have been with us from the beginning of the YAC. And you'll recall that in the end of December of 2020, we were still in COVID, and so these students managed to organize a Youth Advisory Council. We gave them plenty of elbow room to figure out how they were going to do that and what was important. And they managed to create a structure. They created their own bylaws. They decided what priority issues they wanted to work on. And they did all that through COVID, through Zoom meetings. And then finally this past year, we're able to really meet in person, and the YAC has blossomed. So I'm incredibly proud of these students and the insights that they bring and the work and the commitment and the enthusiasm that they bring to understanding civic life and learning how to make a positive contribution to civic life. So we have an opportunity tonight. I want to take this moment to present certificates to honor 3 members of the Youth Advisory Council who are graduating. Sophia El Shama, Sophia hasn't quite arrived yet, looks like, is a graduating senior at Sheldon High School. She was an original member of YAC in 2020 and has served as the council's co-chair for 2 years. Brianna Philly is a graduating senior at Willamette High School. She joined YAC in 2022 and serves on YAC's education subcommittee. And finally, Maya Nair graduated from Sheldon High School last year, and she generously volunteered to stay on with the YAC. Maya was an original member of the YAC in 2020 and serves on the accessibility subcommittee. And so again, I want to thank those graduating seniors in particular for the leadership and the insight that they have wrought and the hard work that they have been willing to do. And so with that, let's see, of these seniors receiving certificates, I think we have Brianna in the crowd. I'm wondering if Neil, if you want to come and receive it on behalf of your sister, and then when Sophia appears, we'll be able to do that. So I'm just going to, these are just certificates of appreciation and recognition of your outstanding contribution to the City of Eugene through your service on the Eugene Youth Advisory Council, working to empower youth and bring youth voices and perspectives to the City of Eugene and the broader community. Thank you so much. It's hard to get from here to there. It's the message here. Thank you so much. And now let's see. Oh, I had this order wrong. We're going to do the pledge first. Okay. So now, Layla, I will invite you up to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance. And I invite everyone please to stand and join Layla in leading us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We were holding time for the Youth Advisory Council to present their report, but I think we'll wait until Sophia arrives and we'll do the other pieces first, and we can do that at the beginning of the public forum. So with that, I have a couple of other ceremonial pieces in the beginning of this. I have 3 proclamations to read. So I will begin with a recognition of LGBTQ+ Pride Month. Whereas the federal government recognizes the month of June as LGBTQ+ Pride Month, and whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identification, and whereas the City of Eugene recognizes that one of its greatest strengths is the diversity of its community, and whereas the City of Eugene is committed to ensuring diversity, social justice, equality, and mutual respect through our community, and whereas, while society at large increasingly supports LGBTQ+ equality, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas, recognizing and celebrating LGBTQ+ Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for the City of Eugene LGBTQ+ community, and is an opportunity to take action and engage in conversation to strengthen partnerships, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Finnis, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2023 to be Eugene LGBTQ+ Pride Month. And my second proclamation this evening is to respect National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Whereas this proclamation declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Eugene to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Whereas every day, more than 120 Americans are killed by gun violence, alongside more than 200 who are shot and wounded. And on average, there are nearly 17,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas Americans are 26 times more likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high income countries. And whereas gun violence is the leading cause of death for children and teens in the US. And whereas Oregon has 587 gun deaths every year with a rate of 13 deaths per 100,000 people. Oregon has the 34th highest rate of gun deaths in the US. And whereas gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities, with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the nation occurring in 127 cities. And whereas cities across the nation, including Eugene, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is mayors' highest responsibility. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. And whereas in January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15. And on June 3rd, 2023, to recognize the 26th birthday of Hadia Pendleton, born June 2nd, 1997, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and Wear Orange Weekend by wearing orange in tribute to Hadia Pendleton and other victims of gun violence and the loved ones of those victims. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, they chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas by wearing orange from June 2nd to 4th, 2023, Americans raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Vinis, Mayor of the City of Eugene, declares the first Friday in June 2nd, 2023, to be Gun Violence Awareness Day. I encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives, and call upon all citizens to wear orange on the first weekend in June because orange is a color that symbolizes the value of life. And finally, third proclamation in recognition of Juneteenth. Whereas the United States of America is made up of people from every nation on earth who are declared equal and deserving of the rights of all humankind. And whereas on January 1, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, providing that all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state shall be then thenceforward and forever free. And whereas almost 2.5 years later, on June 19th, 1865, news of the Emancipation Proclamation reached southern and southwestern areas of the United States. And whereas the 19th of June, referred to as Juneteenth, commemorates the day that slavery truly ended in the United States and is a day to recognize and honor the culture and achievements of all African Americans. And whereas the City of Eugene is committed to recognizing its history of racial discrimination and exclusion, and whereas the City of Eugene recognizes the importance, value, and impact that cultural events honoring Juneteenth have on creating a sense of belonging for the communities they represent and celebrate. Now, therefore, I, Lucy Vinis, Mayor of the City of Eugene, Oregon, do hereby proclaim the 19th of June, 2023, to be Juneteenth in the city of Eugene, Oregon, and do urge all residents of Eugene to take this opportunity to learn more about the significance, of this day to both African American and United States history. Thank you all for your careful attention to those proclamations. I appreciate it very much. It's an important to acknowledge all of these things. I will say that I was with the U.S. Conference of Mayors on June 2nd, and we were all wearing orange. There were probably 250 mayors there. And so it was, and there were a number of presentations about gun violence and mass shootings and how we can protect ourselves. So it's a very sobering reality in our country, and appreciate the opportunity to make a proclamation about it. And very excited about Juneteenth coming up next week, and there will be celebrations in the city of Eugene. So please check it out at Alton Baker Park. Okay, with that, I will turn to committee reports and items of interest. Are there counselors with things to share? Counselors Lenka and Counselor Semple?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Having experienced gun violence directly in my life, one of my best friends in high school was killed by his crazy father-in-law, and his mother was killed at the same time. It's a issue very close to my heart. Just some other statistics: 115,000 people on average over the last 5 years get shot or killed by gun violence. That's almost 39,000 people a year die. 77,000 people are injured because of guns. That's 300 people a day. Over 300 people a day are shot. 23 of those per day are children. That's like 8,000 children a year. It's the leading cause of children's death now for the first time ever. You're 26 times more likely to be killed by gun violence than any other high-income country. On a per capita basis, according to the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, homicides per 100,000 people, United States is 4.12, United Kingdom 0.04, Germany 0.08 compared to 4.12. There are 425 million guns in the United States, more than 1.2 per person. There were so far 287 mass shootings this year. Last year we had 647, the year before that 690, year before that 610. We're at 1.8 mass shootings per day. We're on par to do another 600 mass shooting year. And while 57% of Americans support gun violence, support stricter gun control, we still haven't done anything about it. We're not doing assault weapons bans, which 10 states have done, universal background checks, stronger red flag laws, controlling irresponsible advertising, holding gun manufacturers responsible, and requiring gun storage. In Sunday's Register Guard, there was an article called Roots of America's Gun Violence Epidemic. It interviewed Ryan Busey, former gun manufacturing law executive. And he was talking about the advertising that the gun people are doing, where they're now, 15 years ago, you weren't doing this. You're advertising bulletproof vests and tactical gear and bulletproof helmets. And he said there's a campaign to tell young men, quote, you don't have a man card if you don't have one of these rifles. You do have a man card if you have one of them. And so this campaign to promote guns as part of manlyhood, I think is personally insane. And they're advertising guns. One of them is called the Wilson Uber Sniper Rifle. That's the name of a gun. And another one's called the Ultimate Arms Warmonger. That's the name of a gun. They're advertising this. And they have an AR-15 company called Rooftop Arms. This has gotten so out of hand for me, and having experienced it personally, it's just, it truly is an epidemic, and we need to pay attention. And, having it be the #1 death for children should be a wake-up call, but apparently it's not for a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you for that very much. Counselor Semple.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week, I got to go a couple of places. I went to the Westmoreland Safe Sleep Spot over on Chambers and 18th, run by community supported shelters. I got to see it right before it opened, and other than a bunch of well cared for but challenged people, it looked the same. It's really clean and organized and a pleasant place to be. Couches and a stove and a shared kitchen area, porta potties and firewood. And the residents really were getting along with each other. They said it was very strict about cleaning, because if you didn't clean, someone was going to yell at you. So they have it pretty well under control. Staff and leaders of CSS were there and spoke to us, and several of the residents. So I know we always need more, but this is an example of some really good work, and we should all be happy about that. I also got to go to Schnitzer Recycled Metals out on 99, and it was fascinating. I really liked it. There's great big pieces of metal, and they chop them down and separate them. And they're recycling. It's all metal recycling. And, you know, I think we're missing out on something, because we can recycle any metal, and bent nails and paper clips and, you know, wires and stuff that just go into the trash, as well as, you know, window frames and bigger pieces of metal. But right now you either have to take it to the dump and put it in their metal container, which I do. I bring my jar and shake all the bent nails, or you can take it to Schnitzer, which I encourage everyone to do. But I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be nice if we had an easier way to collect all this metal? So exciting week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Keating.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the Schnitzer Steel.
Oh, you was good.
I missed out. I know. I hear I missed out. Mayor, I want to thank you for the proclamations. And I want to remind folks that Friday, June 23rd is Pride Night at PK Park. Our very own Eugene Emeralds were the first professional baseball team in minor league baseball to sport Pride jerseys. Pre-pandemic, and since they have been celebrating Pride at a June homestand, and the Pride jerseys are raffled off to support HIV Alliance, which is super cool. I had a chance to speak on June 2nd at Island Park and I want to thank Moms Demand Action and the organizers, Everytown Gun Safety, and folks who came out to Island Park to stand in solidarity for common sense gun reform. And thank you, Councilor Zelenka, for pointing out the sobering facts. For every 100 Americans, there are 120 firearms. That's bananas. Roughly 3% of the population in these United States own approximately 50% of the guns in the nation. So my message that I'm delivering tonight, Mayor, is similar to the message I delivered at Island Park. If state legislatures and the federal government's hands are seemingly tied to make real legal efforts to advance common sense gun control, I'm talking safe storage, increasing the age from 18 to 21 for purchase, increasing the wait time for a firearm purchase, then I call on Hollywood. Hear me out. I call on Hollywood to tackle the issue the same way they did the tobacco industry. Imagine all the firearms you see in movies and on TV on a daily basis. If there was a fee associated with films showing firearms on their posters and in their films, and those fees were directed to help support victims' relief fund efforts, you would see a fundamental culture shift. And hopefully it would be a culture shift that ends up in more awareness, more lives being saved. But I still believe fully in the legislative process, and I thank our lawmakers who continue to do the good work to put common sense gun safety first and foremost in the laws that they advance. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other updates, comments? Oh, Randy, and Councilor Gross.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Keating brought up the good works of the Eugene Emeralds and things they do for our community. City Manager, would you at some point give us an update of where the stadium, multi-use stadium process is and where you see our role in that is? It doesn't have to be tonight, but just at some point soon.
I meet with him.
Great. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions from council? Okay, with that, why don't we move on to the consent calendar?
All right. I move to approve the items on consent calendar 1.
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That passes. Thank you very much. So I think I will announce the public forum and we'll have the youth council do their presentation as the very first presenters on the public forum. So let me introduce that. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the city council on any city related issues, except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official. And I'll turn to Cherish to share the list and number of speakers that have signed up to speak. And there we go. I think I'll turn it over to Cherish.
Okay, great. We have 14 speakers this evening. We are going to be led by 2 members of the YAC. Sophia El Shamal will be joined by her co-chair Neil Nair, a junior at Sheldon High School, tonight at the beginning of the public forum to present the Youth Advisory Council's annual report. But before that happens, let me read through the protocol for the forum. We will announce 2 speakers' names at a time. If you are providing testimony via Zoom, when it is your turn, we will announce your name and promote you to panelist status, and you can unmute and turn on your camera if you wish. If you are announced as the next speaker and physically in the room, please move to the seat in the front row designated for the next speaker. When it is your turn, you may come to the podium. When you are called to speak, please state your name clearly and for Eugene residents, your ward or neighborhood, if known, before beginning your comments. You will have 2.5 minutes to speak. If you are watching the meeting, the timer should be visible. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of the 2.5 minutes. For those who have connected to the meeting via phone and don't have the benefit of seeing the timer, please be aware that your microphone will be muted at the 2.5 minute mark. Please note that screen sharing or displaying information on the screen is not allowed, and any misuse of the platform or violation of the council's code of conduct will result in immediate termination of speaking privilege. If you have documents to provide council, please place them in the council inbox on the table in the front of the room. All right, our first speaker, as I mentioned, is Neil Nair, followed by Sophia El Shamal.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you for allowing us to speak here today. The Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, or MYAC, was created by Mayor Lucy Vinis in late 2020, modeled after similar groups in Oregon and across the country. Her intention was to create a space for youth voices and perspectives to influence and initiate policy at the city government level. This year, the council heard from a variety of outstanding speakers, each of whom was specifically related to each of our subcommittees. All of the guest speakers provided us with fresh perspectives on Eugene and issues that we hope to address, as well as new ones. Trey Charles, human rights and equity analyst with the city of Eugene, who has since been attending our meetings and provided support and guidance, kicked off the year by speaking about his experiences and insights on hate crimes in Eugene. The equity subcommittee in particular was able to develop their main project as a result of his outlook and information shared. Jennifer Ye, city councilor, spoke next on her route to becoming a city councilor and the responsibilities that come with that role. We were fortunate to have a panel of speakers in February, including representatives from the 15th Night Youth Advisory Council, Hope and Safety Alliance, and SAS, the Sexual Assault Support Services. The panelists were able to discuss the goals and aspirations of their organizations which help increase awareness to our members of what current actions are being done for many of our topics of interest. Linda Hamilton, previous Eugene Human Rights Commissioner, came next and highlighted her personal experiences in Eugene, as well as the hurdles she had upon moving here, including her great accomplishments in uplifting youth voice, equity advocacy, and other work. Manju Bangalore, Miss Oregon USA 2023 was our most recent speaker, and she provided us with valuable insight into the struggle of the intersectionality between ourselves and society. She also brought forth the importance of representation and accessibility, many of which were current projects she's working on. All of the speakers extended beyond the scope of our council and applied to our lives as a whole. We've learned so many great things from these speakers, and we've had the opportunity to open ourselves up to new possibilities and viewpoints as a result, allowing our council to think the more bigger picture and further open-minded and aware of the typically overlooked issues within our community. Within our board, we have a large variety of subcommittees meant to focus and target specific issues. All these subcommittees have been working on different projects this year and have achieved different goals they set for themselves.
Hi, thank you again for allowing us to speak. I'm going to go over what each subcommittee did. I don't need to stand on my tiptoes. I'm tall enough. Okay. So we have several subcommittees, like Neil said, including the climate change subcommittee, and through a grant from a youth-led nonprofit, Leaders Across the World, the climate change subcommittee hosted a workshop at the Eugene Public Library. They gave a presentation about composting, which educated the community about its importance and how easy it is to do. The subcommittee also partnered with the city's Love Food Not Waste program, which helped organize the meeting room for them to provide information for the attendees about the resources the city provides to help people compost. Through this experience, the climate change subcommittee learned valuable lessons about planning and community engagement. The legislation subcommittee came from when one of our members, Lily Yao, wrote and submitted a written testimony for Senate Bill 421, a bill which would establish a diverse statewide youth council. The goal of the board of the subcommittee is to hopefully get youth more involved in the legislative process and learn about our government. Although being a new subcommittee, they have already come up with big plans, and in the future we'll try and get youth more involved with government processes through future events. The education subcommittee has been working on a presentation about sexual assault and its effects on youth victims. In relation to this, the subcommittee applied to speak at an event called SAS Talks, hosted by the Eugene nonprofit mentioned before, Sexual Assault Support Services. The goal of SAS focused on topics like healthy sexuality and sexual assault awareness, among other important issues. At this event, the subcommittee was also able to make many valuable connections with other similar goal-oriented organizations such as Ophelia's Place and Planned Parenthood Youth Leadership Program to work on projects together. And finally, in February, 3 of our members attended the Oregon Youth Summit in Hillsborough. The Youth Summit allowed various mayors' youth advisory boards to meet and network. There were many great guest speakers, including several mayors and city councilors, a representative for Home Plate, and more. Meeting like-minded teenagers from around Oregon was very rewarding, and it allowed us to see what a youth council can do when they work hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Sophia. Next, we will hear from Lynn Woodrich, followed by Don Hetty.
While Lynn is coming up, I just want to take a minute to thank Sophia and Neil. I'm not sure they'll stay later, and appreciate your presentation. Okay, Lynn, thank you. Sorry.
My name's Lynn Woodrich. I'm the Active Bethel Community Co-Chair. I've lived in the Bethel area over 25 years. I'll be living in Ward 6 through June, and we'll move back to my home in the Bethel portion of Ward 8. I'm speaking for the Active Bethel Community Board. We sent you a public health overlay zone statement of support letter on September 22nd. I'm looking forward to hearing back from City Manager Sari Mederi about the options for a quicker way to ensure that the historical pattern of approving zoning codes and land uses that place industrial polluters and homes adjacent are eliminated in the future. We need an option that includes all the elements of the proposed public health overlay zone to create buffer zones between the homes and polluting businesses and ban the worst polluting industries from city limits. We also need to strengthen noise, vibration, and odor rules, public meeting requirements, and other development standards. This would also help provide peace of mind for a community that has long suffered from higher pollution levels. Families should know that the value of their property will not suffer due to nearby sources of pollution and that large new polluters won't move into the area. Everyone in Eugene deserves to know that their families are safe to go outside, to take an evening walk, to eat vegetables from their backyard gardens, and to recreate in their local parks. I urge you to help the university area with their new regulations to help them with their concerns and move Bethel to the top of the area plan list as soon as River Road Santa Clara is finished in January 2024. As you may know, the proposed budget from the city manager includes a 23% cut to the neighborhood outreach budget. We request that the current level of neighborhood association outreach funding be retained in the FY 24-25 budget. Reducing neighborhood funding will impact the most active neighborhood associations and will limit the reach of groups that are reactivating. An active and engaged neighborhood association serves vital functions in the community, and for a relatively small amount of funding, the community receives an abundance of benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Next, we will hear from Don Hetty. And Don Hetty will be followed by Catherine Dunn.
Good evening, Don Hetty, Ward 7. And greetings, Mayor, Councilor, and staff. Tonight, I'm here to talk to you about something that's timely, is absolutely identified as a high priority by the city, and is fully funded. And that's Gobert Gardens Park renovation. We've kicked off with one meeting already. We are going to form a consensus. We've got engaged stakeholders, and we're going to turn what's currently a blemish, not quite blight, into a jewel. Again, we're just starting the process. It's now on your radar. It will be inventive, innovative, and it will stand as a model. It will be replicated because it is all doable. We will transform our neighborhood. We're going to cut across functions, and I'm going to need some help. We'll be back. Also in the neighborhood, another institution, JESCO, JESCO, Junction City, Eugene, Springfield, Cottage Grove, and Oak Ridge, had their 50th anniversary this weekend. JESCO's a sober club. They cooperate. They're not affiliated with 12-step groups, but that's what it's there for. I personally like to thank 3 gentlemen that carried that deed. These are Eugenians: a dentist, a bibliophile, and a draper. My personal hero, Harry Howard, Chrome Dome, a World War II, 3-time POW. Those are the kind of things that we have happening in our neighborhood. So when I come to you for some help, please provide it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Next, we will hear from Catherine Dunn, followed by Todd Boyle. Catherine, you are muted.
Catherine Dunn, Ward 5. Sorry about that. I would like to address the proposed relocation assistance. I urge the council to exempt rental owners who issue a no-cause termination at the end of a lease during the first year, because the first year is a crucial period when the owner and tenant have time to work together and determine if they're compatible or not. And currently, tenants can take a break, or I'm sorry, currently tenants can break a lease early with the penalty of 1.5 times rent, or they can simply move out at the end of the lease. Rental owners do not have the ability to terminate a lease early unless there's cause. And if the proposed displacement assistance is passed, owners who wish to end or not renew a lease would be forced to continue the lease indefinitely unless they pay the tenant a substantial amount of money, 3 times monthly rent, which is twice the amount of what tenants pay to terminate early. That's 100% of an owner's income for a full quarter of the year and fails to consider an owner's holding costs and expenses during that time, resulting in significant loss for rental owners. To achieve equity, it's crucial that owners have the ability to maintain their current rights to not renew a lease during the first year with no financial penalty. If any penalties are imposed thereafter, they should be fair and balanced, not exceeding 1.5 times monthly rent, the same penalty that tenants pay. As for the proposed landlord compensation fund that's been discussed, it's only fair that the cap established to qualify for landlord funds aligns with the same cap to qualify for tenant funds in the name of displacement assistance. Not every tenant or landlord is in financial need, and qualifications for tenant and landlord funds should rightly align. Lastly, rising prices and inflation are affecting everybody, including rental owners, and a 5% cap on rent increases is unreasonably low due to increasing costs, contractors' costs, just everything is up, and it's over what that 5% would allow. In sum, I urge you to review the proposed relocation assistance policy and make amendments that reflect fairness and equity for both tenants and property owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next, we will hear from Todd Boyle, followed by Marilyn Hinson.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and citizens. Thanks for the opportunity to speak again. You know, with some trepidation, I want to offer some thoughts on the urban renewal events that have been happening, you know, the hearing and the work session. And my understanding is that the frozen base amount in the urban renewal district dates all the way back to 1968. And I don't see any reference to indexing for inflation, but all the tax collected, the tax increment above that goes to the urban renewal district, which sounds to me like it's 100% of the tax revenue in the urban renewal district or close to it. And you'll recall in the Mini Cozy report a couple of years ago, there was an excellent spike chart, and it showed where the net positive, you know, tax revenue is, property tax revenue in the city of Eugene. And it was all in the downtown and the close areas of to the west of downtown. So what it sort of looks like to me is that the downtown is a sort of a Ouroboros that takes its tax revenue and consumes it in its own urban renewal district. And then it generates more tax increment, which then sort of separates from the rest of Eugene, and it goes up like a helicopter. And it actually doesn't look very dilapidated to me. At the hearing, you know, at least 10 people said that the downtown is in decline, and they were alarmed about it, and that they wanted the urban renewal funds to be spent on market rate housing, subsidizing housing for people who can afford to, you know, dine and entertain and shop downtown. And I'm opposed to subsidizing the, you know, housing for middle and upper income people, while there's obviously a crisis of housing for the low income people and for the homeless. So anyway, what I'd like to suggest to use the urban renewal money for is things, not private boxes where individual people can live in private areas, but a public facility. Like, how about an amphitheater down at the end of Washington? There's quite a lot of space there at the west end of Skinner Butte. And you could have a nice outdoor amphitheater, a concrete amphitheater for free, where people could actually have community events, musical performances, you know, where you don't have to pay for it or get permission and all this sort of thing. That's the idea of a public space, which existed, you know, in ancient Greece, and actually builds the sense of community of a city. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Next, we will hear from Marilyn Hinson, followed by Geraldine Van Pikeren.
Good evening. My name is Marilyn Hinson, and for the last on June 20th, I will have been employed by the Downtown Athletic Club for 32 years, and I am here to advocate for more safety for downtown. I have seen the rise and the fall and the rise and the fall now of downtown in all the years I've worked here. And I have never felt as unsafe getting to my car as I have felt for the last 6 months. In December alone, I had to call 4 times because the stairwell is not available, the outside stairwell. The only stairwells that are available at the Overpark are indoor stairwells. I have a Pilates studio inside the Downtown Athletic Club across the street, and my clients have been accosted in those stairwells in the morning. You know, I invite you to come there in the early morning and see what that's like. And it is terrifying to go inside an elevator by myself. I'm leaving work. I have double knee replacement. I'm 63 years old. I can't kick ass like I used to. you know, it's just the reality of where I'm at in my life, but I'm not alone here. And my clients feel threatened, and it's just not okay. I love downtown so much. I have pictures on my phone of all the renovations that have happened. I'm a big fan of downtown, and yet I feel very unsafe. There were times I had to hide around the elevator when people were coming, screaming and yelling because I was too scared to get in that elevator by myself to ride up the elevator. Because what happens if somebody gets in there and I can't defend myself? It's just not okay. And for the safety for all of us, I think that out there stairwell, at least there you assess the situation. When I'm walking outside, I know where people are behind me. I know where they are in front of me. I lived in New York City when I went to college. I know how to, you know, manage around when I can see. But when you can't see, you're completely defenseless. And those stairwells are terrifying. Those elevators in the Overpark are terrifying. I don't know if you've been in them, but if you haven't, they're very dilapidated and scary if you're in there by yourself. And the other thing I want to say about all of it is that I believe in, you know, some funding going to downtown and building that up again. It's a fantastic place. And I just think that it's very sad. I'm out of time. The Eugene.
Thank you, Marilyn. Your time is concluded. And next we will hear from Geraldine Van Pikeren, followed by Zeke Zeff.
Hello, I'm here again to talk about the community tent safe sites, and I want to thank you for Councilor Leach's quick response, and Councilor Semple meeting you on Friday at the CSS Safe Spot. There were a few things I want to address the concerns of Mayor Vinis. Oh yeah, Geraldine Van, Ward 7. Thank you. I'm new at this. I want to address the concerns of the mayor, and some of the concerns were about in 2020, the Washington Jefferson Park and how that did not work. And I want to assure you that it will work if they're smaller sites, and CSS has smaller sites and they have somebody supervising them. I also want to say, I realize that you're approving 250 more safe sleep units, but those aren't the same as the tent sites. There's like a missing link from the tents to that. There's 3 to 6 month waiting list. And also I would like to say that there would be better management if you contracted through CSS. It would be cheap if we could just get some of the land. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, well, because the police have no place to send them to, and this new 2-hour sweep. I think Emily heard one of the clients said that happened to them. They didn't even do 2 hours and his tent was gone. And also the anxiety that the clients have. They have no place to put their backpacks. People take their stuff, and it takes like 2 weeks before their own anxiety of having a safe tent site would help that. I also want to say that these are people with hearts, and it would make our community safer. I noticed out there that there was a phrase that said sustainability, integrating practices that support and improve the health of systems that support life. And so I'm asking that we think about the life of these individuals and support their lives. I also want to just thank you for all the work that you guys are doing. I really do appreciate it and see it. But we've only had, 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine. Next we will hear from Zeke Zeff, followed by David Eigel.
Thank you. My name is Zeke Zeff, South Eugene. I'm just here very quickly to register concern over some potential cuts for some city services. In particular, I understand that there is a potential 17% cut coming up to the library. And there are obviously many essential services that the library provides, literacy programming, summer activities, and other issues. And it does disturb me in particular to, at the same time, see police budgets going way up, because the causes of crime, as council is certainly aware, are multifaceted, but include economic factors, include access to things like activities and literacy. So I hope that is something taken into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zeke. Our next speaker is David Eigel. David, I do not see you as an attendee in Zoom. Please ensure your screen name in Zoom matches the name you used to sign up to speak. I will call your name again after the next speaker. Our next speaker is Russ Lowe. Russ, I also do not see you in Zoom. Please make sure your name matches. I will move on to the next speaker after that, Janet Ayers, and then call David Eigel and Russ Lowe one more time. Janet.
Excuse my appearance. I was gardening up to the last minute. As a candidate for Ward 7, I'd like to first thank Katie LaSala for her professionalism. It was my first campaign run. I ran it on a grassroots budget. I didn't have tens of thousands of dollars, nor did I want it. And I garnered about 20% of the vote on a grassroots campaign, of which I can be very proud of. So thank you, Katie, for your professionalism and ability to help me throughout that process. I'd also like to encourage council members not to engage during ward campaigns. You are each distinctly separate. Ward 7 was for the Ward 7 constituents, and I did not appreciate a council member lodging a very public display of her disagreement with me at my campaign. So I hope that my bringing this topic up will kind of educate council members not to taint their council seat with behaviors that with someone that's running a first-time campaign to taint it, their public persona. Third, I'd like to address Mr. Zelinka and Mr. Keating with regard to the guns. Yes, we have become a very violent society. I would urge you to start at the top with the 87,000 armed IRS agents put forward by your president, Mr. Biden, and a willingness to use lethal force. Pray tell, when did our nation feel the need to start using lethal force over garnering tax monies? Scary thought. So I urge you to similar energy force that you presented tonight to also start with your president and his designation of 87,000 IRS agents prepared to use lethal force. My third piece is I'd like a narrative on the eWeb building. I was there when it was built by eWeb, and we paid for it. 50-year building became, I think, 20 years. I'd like to know how much.
Thank you, Janet. Your time has concluded. Thank you, Janet. Your time has concluded. Our next speaker this evening is Jacob True, followed by Stefan Streck. David Eigel and Russ Lowe did not appear in Zoom. Jacob, go ahead.
Thank you. City Council, Mayor Vinnis, City Manager Metairie. My name is Jacob True, a proud member of Eugene Springfield DSA and resident of Ward 1. I'm here to discuss the city budget. This current fiscal year, the police budget has ballooned about 20%. It's about $20 million worth. The upcoming 2-year budget, which we'll be looking at soon, looks to have an annualized increase of another 3% over this already quite large 20% increase that we saw this year. The fundamental question is whether this massive increase in police funding actually improves public safety. While having more people with the ability and the authority to use coercive violence against members of our community may make some folks feel more safe, it does not increase public safety. Housing and social services, such as mental health response and mental health care are the best way to truly increase police safety, not just direct an expensive, inefficient, and ineffective fantasy of safety. Let's dig in here a little bit. While police funding goes up year over year, the Budget Committee and staff scramble to fill in some of the vast holes in funding for other areas with one-time dollars or last-minute fixes and fills. Green Hill Humane Society and the fire department were able to get their cuts forestalled for a short time, but the library cuts are still waiting, pending support from the state. I think the priority should be on, again, preventive measures, upstream efforts, not downstream efforts. Nationwide, we spend more on police than any other country's military budgets, except two, United States military and the Chinese military. With that vast amount of spending, you need to ask yourself, what are we getting for it? Studies have shown time and time again that local crime rates cannot be predicted by officer strength and police budgets. And police-led studies don't include the violence done by the police against our community. I like to say each year, budgets are moral documents. The morality and priorities in this budget are clear and out of alignment with efficient and effective governance. I urge you to amend the budget to reallocate the ongoing payroll tax from the Community Safety Initiative away from the police to areas that would actually support public safety, such as supportive housing, low-income housing, alternative crisis response, or even the public-facing work of the library. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Jacob. And next, we will hear from our final speaker, Stefan Streck.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Stefan Streck, as you announced, and thank you so much for being here tonight. I wanted to share a funny story because there's a lot of people who watch these meetings, and sometimes it's a little surprising and always very impressive. I know we've got some tough competition from the City Club, so hopefully people still tuned in. Yeah, thank you. Just a few weeks ago, I was just waiting outside a store to get picked up by a girl I was meeting, and this guy walks by and was like, "Oh, hey, you got something on your face." And I was like, can you go away? Can you leave me alone? I'm busy. And he's like, no, really, it's like here. And I was like, just it's fine. Whatever it is, just leave me alone. I thought he was just messing with me. People, stranger things have happened. But so he's like, oh, wait a second. Haven't I seen you on public access? You're great. I love what you do. I love tuning into that. That's fantastic. And I was like, oh, well, thank you so much. And he's like, didn't you have that great slogan? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, thank you for your kind words. And he's like, oh man, we got to bring that back. And I was like, you're too nice. Anyways, so it's good to know that lots of people, more than expected, do tune into this and hear what everyone has to say. So thank you all for taking the time to put your kind work into making the city a better place. And knowing that more people than expected are watching and tuned in, I'd like to give a special shout out for Father's Day to my dad for his positive influence. He's a really funny guy and has a great sense of humor. He's really, really liberal. For Gun Awareness Day, he really hates guns. Like he hates guns a lot. And we've done great things, hiking around Oregon, camping at the fire lookouts. He has all the original Beatles albums, not taken out of the plastic. And he's been a really good influence. So happy Father's Day, Dad. And happy Father's Day to all the proud dads out there that make this city a better place. Thank you so much. Happy Father's Day. Yeah.
Thank you, Stefan. Mayor, that was our final speaker.
And thank you, all the folks who took the time to testimony. Are there questions or comments from council? Councilor Semple?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't really want to talk about this here, but since it was brought up, I have to respond. I did not become involved in any of the Ward 7 candidates' campaigns. I was busy with other things. It wasn't my ward. However, I was sent a copy of Janet Ayer's campaign literature by Paul Conte, who had also worked on my campaign. And I was shocked to see they were the same. It was my logo, my fonts that I'd paid for license for, my colors, my political branding, my political identity. I have nothing against Janet Ayer's campaign or the possibility of being elected. She wasn't my candidate, but it looked like I supported her. I wasn't asked if my work could be used. I'm a graphic designer. It's my work. I did it. I hired another graphic designer for my second campaign to recreate my branding for a new flyer that Mr. Conte helped with photos and layout. I consulted an attorney, and they said that, yes, I had a good case for intellectual property theft, in addition to the problems with it being used for political manipulation. I never, ever wanted to have to deal with this. I have a case, but it would be prohibitively expensive to pursue it. That's how it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from council? Councilor Keating.
Thank you, Mayor. Zeke Zeff from Ward 2 asked about the library. And I guess I would answer in a Socratic fashion by asking the city manager, it doesn't necessarily have to be tonight, but at our next budget meeting, would you be able to elaborate on what you touched on during the budget process about the potential for a supplemental budget to address some of the underfunding at the library?
Sure, I could actually say a couple of things now, and then if you want more than that, we can come back, because our next one will be actually the night you have the public hearing and adopt the budget. So what I had said in the budget meeting is that I was committed to two things. One, continuing to follow through on the governor's budget that allocates funding for early literacy, and whether there was potential partnership with Bethel School District, and if there was a way we could do that, because there's also appeared to be a way we could apply for grants for that as well, for the Bethel literacy position that was being discussed. And then I also said that I would go back, we would look at some of those reductions, and in particular, the one-times that were related to youth, if there were ways that we could supplement with community safety initiative dollars. That was also included the email I sent earlier today. And I think they identified about $160,000 in the biennium, and my plan is to include that as just part of an amended budget, so you don't have to go through the motion and all the piece, but that'll be in there. So we're restoring some of the funding for services through the biennium for youth.
Great. Thank you, City Manager. I hope that satisfies the inquiry, Zeke. Geraldine from Ward 7. I normally don't address folks outside the ward. I hope it's okay, Counselor. You brought up the community supported shelters. And I just want to thank Counselor Groves and Springfield City Councilor Doyle for your support at our most recent Human Services Commission meeting to recommend restoration of the $300,000 that was going to be cut from the CSS, the community supported shelters, which would have effectively gutted a critically important program that's been up and running since 2013, or at least gutted the portion that connects those most in need to vital services. So I want to thank Councilor Groves and Councilor Doyle from the city of Springfield for supporting our motion within the Human Services Commission. That's a Human Services Commission budget with Lane County, not the city, but it's an intergovernmental agency. So I bring it up to I don't think Geraldine's still here. I hope Geraldine ends up tuning in. But I bring it up to squarely address the work that your pair of representatives on the Human Services Commission, myself and Councilor Groves, are doing, and thank staff, Peter and Amanda in particular here at the city, for their diligent work to ensure the community supported shelters funding remains whole. So thank you, Councilor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from counselors? I thank you all. I just wanted to make one other comment. We had the Youth Advisory Council today, and I acknowledged everyone except for one person, and that is Lauren Nguyen, who can just wave or stand up in the back of the room. Lauren served as the intern for the city all year long and as the staff support for the Youth Advisory Council. So it's been a special pleasure to work with her and watch her work with that youth council. And again, thank you to Sophia. I don't think you were here when I was really thanking you before for your leadership of the Youth Advisory Council. And thank you and Neil for presenting that report. So with that, I think we are complete with the public forum part of the agenda and ready to move on to our action items, which is appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. And for this, I turn it over to the council president.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm going to move into Budget Committee first. Move to appoint Jesse Maldonado to the Budget Committee for an unexpired term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2024.
Second.
Councilor Clark has his hand up.
Oh, I think, okay. Yes, Councilor Clark, comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to substitute Don Borowski for Jesse Maldonado. If I get a second, I'll speak to it.
I'll second that.
He's the maker of the motion. I don't think you can.
Oh.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I stand corrected.
All right,
Second.
seconded.
Thank you. I think Jesse Maldonado is a great guy. I think he would do a good job. I don't have any problem there, but we have the application for John Borowski. And yes, he's had an opportunity to serve in the past, has waited the appropriate period before applying again. But in my opinion, the role of the Budget Committee is most helpful to us in thinking of options as we especially enter in difficult budget times. I think we're going to see those, as all of us saw during this process this year. Over the next couple, we're going to have some difficult decisions to make. And frankly, I don't know anybody that I can think of who knows more about the city budget than John Borowski. And we have the opportunity for his resource at the table to help us. And that's the simple reason for my move to substitute. I think he would be a valuable tool for us to have at the table for these difficult times.
Okay, Councilor Keating?
Just a point of information. How many, the votes or the motions in front of us today, are those all the top vote getters, Councilor Groves?
Yes.
Do we have a way to indicate how many votes these particular folks received?
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes. Yes.
This is the only time we're voting. We did nominations as part of our process, but those are not formal votes.
Right, right, true.
They're nominations. I get that.
They're in.
I see the packet where it indicates the nominations, and I've gone through this before, Mayor. That I find it with all due respect, Councilor Clark, when someone doesn't participate in the nominating process, I see Councilor Groves, Councilor Semple, Councilor Ye, Councilor Evans, myself, Councilor Zelenka, and Councilor Leach. When someone doesn't participate in the process and then floats a motion to substitute, it flies in the face of why we do this entire process. We vote or nominate who should come and address us publicly. We go through the packet and indicate our preferred choices, and then get to the table with those who've earned the most amount of nominated votes are floated. We get a nomination to substitute or vote to substitute. I find that wholly inappropriate. With all due respect, the person you're suggesting has a great breadth, thank you, of experience, also serves as an eWeb commissioner and has access and the ability to provide some tutelage and mentorship for Jesse, a candidate who I'm excited about, who brings some youth and diversity and experience as the youngest city councilor elected in Idaho history. I am pleased and proud to have been one of a majority of us to have nominated Jesse Maldonado. And I would be wholly supportive of a motion of acclamation or a motion to nominate this entire slate of top vote getters. And I reject the idea that we're going to be substituting someone who only got one vote or a candidate who was nominated with the most votes. That doesn't seem logical to me, Mayor, and I encourage a rejection of this substitution.
Okay, thank you. I have Counselor Groves also wanted to speak to this.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do. I actually support the substitute motion, and it has nothing to do with Jesse Maldonado. I think he was a fine candidate. I look at our boards and commissions as advisory groups to advise this council and how best to negotiate the business of the city. In the case of John Borofsky, he has far more experience than a lot of us that sit on this panel right here when it comes to the budget. And I think as we're going into continuing these difficult financial times until we are able to build a tax base that actually supports the level of services that we field in this community, having the voice of John Borofsky at the table is critically important. And that's why I am supporting this as well. And I did participate in the nomination. And I did also vote for John Borofsky in the process, as I did for Jesse Maldonado. So that's where I stand on this. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Clark, do you want to speak to it again? Oh, wait, hold on. Councilor Zelenka.
Mayor, I just wanted to point out that I wanted to thank John Borofsky for his service on the eWeb board. I know that when my wife was on the eWeb board for 12 years, it was a heck of a job. It took a lot of time, and it was other than work, which I know John does work and owns a restaurant. It is an enormous amount of work and takes up a lot of time. So I wanted to thank him for that amount of time that he puts forward into that. And I think that Jesse Maldonado is a really good candidate, and I think he'll be able to put in the time it takes to be on the budget committee.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Clark, you have another comment?
Only in response to my friend Councilor Keating, I would say this illustrates the reason I protested years and years ago. The process that we follow for nominations and committees and boards and commissions, and it's because you, unless I misunderstood, so forgive me, you seem to be infusing an idea into the informal nominating process we have, that somehow those votes carried some authority or weight. When this process was put into place, it was assured to all of us that that was strictly advisory as to where your colleagues were, and it might be a helpful process to make the process of the actual vote at the table right now, the one that counts, easier. I contend that our process is wrong, that us voting can have the color of authority, as my colleague suggests, and that it's being done with a radical lack of transparency. It's voting privately where only we know and not in public. And I think it's a mistake. And at our next process session, I will bring this up, but I hope we'll revisit this process and correct it so that we're doing something that's considerably more transparent and open and public. Thank you.
Okay, well, I will, you have a process session coming up. You have an opportunity as a council to revisit that at another time, but for now, there is a motion to substitute on the table.
Mayor, a point of clarification though. So Mike, this is a transparent process. The votes that we did while we do them by email are collected and put into this and published as part of the public record. So it's as transparent as it get, other than, so everybody's seeing exactly how each of us vote. So it's not a private vote, it's a public vote, because the results are very clearly included in our public packet, and it's on our website.
Okay, thank you all. And we can follow that discussion at another time. All in favor of the motion to substitute, please raise your hands. 1, 2, opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're back to the main motion. Jesse Maldonado for Budget Committee. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you very much and congratulations, Jesse. All right, next one.
Oh, we're only to number 2. Civilian Review Board. Move to reappoint Jose Cortez to the Civilian Review Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion, comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That passes. Congratulations, Jose. Next up.
Move to reappoint Carolyn Williams to the Civilian Review Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That passes. Congratulations, Carolyn. Next up.
Next, we're up to Human Rights Commission. Move to appoint Silke Booker to the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion, substitutions?
Just a
yeah.
question. At the time of we voted for these nominations, the applicant lived in Springfield, but if memory serves, there was an address change to Ward 5. We get confirmation that Silke is a Eugene resident?
Yes, he is a Eugene resident. He came in and showed proof as his residential address.
Right.
Okay, thank you for asking that. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Silke. All right, next one.
Move to appoint Kiana Kabuku
Kanofsky.
Thank you.
It's a typo, I believe.
To the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023, ending June 30, 2026.
Second.
Any questions, comments?
Just a point of clarification. I've been meaning to bring this up because I've seen the typo. The first V should be an N, I believe.
Okay, yeah, it was pulled directly from the application. I'll correct it when we put it into the system.
Thanks.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thank you. Congratulations, Kiana. Next up.
Move to appoint Cynthia Cannon Poindexter to the Human Rights Commission for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2026.
Second.
Any comment, substitutions? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Cynthia.
Moving on to Planning Commission. Move to reappoint Ken Beeson to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2027.
Second.
Any comment? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Ken. Okay.
Staying with the Planning Commission, move to reappoint Christopher Ramey to the Planning Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2027.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Christopher.
Moving on to Toxics Board. Move to appoint Janessa Sandoval to an advocacy position on the Toxics Board for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2026.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Janessa.
Moving on to the Historic Review Board. Move to appoint Nathan Markowitz to the Historic Review Board for an unexpired term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2025.
Second.
Questions, comments? Yes.
Quick question, Mayor, point of inquiry. The next several boards, Historic Review Board, El Rapa, Lane Regional Air Protection, Police Commission, and Willamette Citizen Planning Committee. It's my understanding that those are appointed by the mayor.
They're
correct?
nominated.
Nominated by the mayor.
Nominated by the City Council.
Nominated by the mayor, appointed by the City Council.
Right.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes. All right. Nathan, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Nathan.
Move to appoint Leah Murray to the Historic Review Board for an unexpired term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2026.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Leah.
Moving on to Lane Regional Air Protection Agency, LRAPA. Move to appoint Dylan Plummer to the Regional Air Protection Agency for an unexpired term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024.
Second.
Questions? Yeah, Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, the LRAPA board is regulates air pollution. And actually is a very, very limited role with regard to greenhouse gas emissions. In my experience, strident environmental advocates make for bad regulators. With all due respect to the mayor, I think they tend to be divisive, and therefore I would move to substitute Lauren Winter as for the LRAPA board.
Second.
Well, I'll speak to this for a moment, if I will, since Dylan was my nominee, and I interviewed all of these candidates. I believe that Dylan is standing up to be a citizen representative, member of the public representative on this board. He comes with knowledge and authority, and he represents a strong perspective shared by many people with whom he works. And so I think that's an important voice to be present on this pollution board, and thought he deserved an opportunity to sit in that leadership role. And I'm interested in bringing new leaders in. So that was my thinking about appointing him. I think he's qualified and would bring a lot to that role. Okay, that said, all in favor of the motion to substitute, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the motion to substitute fails. So we're back to the original motion for Dylan. All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opposed? 2. All right, Dylan, congratulations, Dylan. Thank you. Next up.
Move to reappoint Howard Saxion to Lane Regional Air Protection Agency for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2026.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Howard.
Mayor, I was just going to say what a pleasure it is to serve with Howard on LRAPA's board before you called the vote.
Sorry.
So I want to get that in, that Howard has been a gem of a representative.
Great. Okay, next up.
Move to appoint Michael Johnston to the Lane Regional Air Protection Agency for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2026.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Michael. All right, next up.
Moving on to Police Commission. Move to appoint William Parham to the Police Commission for an unexpired term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2024.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That passes. Congratulations, William.
Move to reappoint Dallas Boggs to the Police Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2027.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Mayor.
Yes.
Just a comment, actually. The next 3 candidates, Dallas Boggs, who was just re-voted in as the chair of the Police Commission that I sit on with Jennifer. He does a great job, excellent job, awesome job on the Police Commission, as does the next candidate, Sean Silvers, who does an excellent job on the Police Commission, and V. Yoon, who also does an excellent job, and I intend to support all 3.
Great, thank you. So Dallas is on the table. All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Dallas. Next up.
Move to reappoint Sean Shivers to the Police Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2027.
Second.
Any comments, questions? Yes. Councilor Groves.
Mayor, Sean Shivers served as my campaign manager when I ran for this seat on this panel, this board, this city council. Et cetera, et cetera. I just, as much as I would love to support him, because I agree, I think he does a fantastic job. Just in the interest of fair play and transparency, I would like to recuse myself on this vote.
All right, fair enough. All in favor of Sean, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. Congratulations, Sean. Next up.
Congratulations, Sean. Move to reappoint Vi Yoon to the Police Commission for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2027.
Second.
Any questions or comments about Vi?
V.
V. Sorry. You said V, you said Vi. Last one. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, V. Next up.
Okay, our last group is the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee. Move to appoint Lauren Winter to the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee for an unexpired term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30, 2024.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mayor, this is there's a lot of nominations here. How big is the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee?
I think it has 7 and we needed 4. Is that right?
Combined committee, so there are also representatives on the
Right.
Springfield side
Right.
as well, so it's an intergovernmental agency, so.
Great.
Okay, all in favor of Lauren, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Lauren. Next up.
Move to appoint Taylor Fowler to the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee for an unexpired term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2025.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Taylor.
Move to appoint Diane Garcia to the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending on June 30th, 2026.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Diane. And finally,
Move to appoint Sam Hillman to the Willamette Citizen Planning Committee for a 3-year term beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2026.
Second.
any questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Congratulations, Sam. Thank you very much, Councilor Gross, for walking us through that. Thank you all for your participation. And with that, we are adjourned.